A gray day with a lot of blue in the house.
All right. We're gonna do this.
A season final means time to look back.
I'm disappointed we missed the playoffs because we had a real option at the end, and I'm disappointed that we didn't commit to one quarterback.
And ahead.
Glad we're getting a chance to see Hal now and wondering whether we should commit it to him earlier.
Yes, the Commanders over the Cowboys.
Yeah, we came in, we knew we still got to play. Like you got a job to do.
If we play this to our ability, we give ourselves a chance. I love some of the things that we did on defense. Defense was a heck of an effort today.
And that's what I said last week. We need to come out here and execute this week, and we did, man. So it paid off for sure, and I'm proud of everybody that was out there.
We wanted to go out on a bang, and that's what we did. We showed the world what we can do as a group and as a team.
And now, coming to terms with the season and what changes may be on the way.
Yeah, it might be the last time I walk off that field in a Commander's uniform.
This does give me some momentum and some motivation going into the offseason, and it was just fun to kind of get my first start under my belt going into next year.
On Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus.
The man
Call
is
somebody,
back,
tell
y'all.
somebody.
We're
We're
back.
Call
He's
your
back.
mama, call your daddy.
We're back and we're back.
We're back.
Tony McGee,
He's back, y'all.
We're back. Tony
Hey.
McGee.
Come on.
Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee.
Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. Now, I may not look happy now because in this show, we got 3 questions that start with the same thing to ask. And we'll learn what was happening. You say, what's up? Why? Why didn't they play that way 2 weeks ago, the way they played on Sunday? Why? Why did they change the quarterback? The other quarterback was winning 50%, and you bring in a guy that loses for you. And why? Why didn't you go to the young guy before that? And we'll answer all these questions. We brought back some people that'll get it straight. We'll be back in a moment.
What's up?
Welcome back. And as we went out, I told you we have a lot of questions. Why? Why didn't you play that way before? Why didn't you pick the right quarterback? Why did you take a team that you could have beat and let them tie you and beat you? So what did we do? We won the last time these gentlemen was on the show. I didn't get an opportunity to be on with them, and I heard a lot about them. As you know, we always got our crew on. We got Donna Hopkins on, and she thinks she knows everything about it, but we'll find out. Alex, I see you on here this week.
What's up, Tony?
Hey, now we go to the heavy hitters. So I might as well go to Clarence Chill Hill for Star Telegraph. We'll see how star you are. There wasn't no stars on those helmets the other day, but we'll go back with that. Then we go with one of the toughest guards that ever played. I didn't play with him or against him, but he made me pull my muscle. Watch this. We're talking about Trey Johnson, the beast from the East, the judge with the sludge. All right, Trey, good seeing you, big fella. Look like you can still do it.
I wish. Oh, man.
Then we go with Leslie Shepard. When you talk about receivers, and the young man still looking like he could do it. He was one of the best receivers. I used to watch him, just work when I was finding him when I was a uniform inspector, but he still was a great player. Welcome back to the show, Les. And last but hey, G, you know I always have to. You've been gone so long, I got to reintroduce you. We're talking about the cool in the room. We're talking about the man that he comes when he wants and leave when he pleases. You're talking about the G-man. Welcome back, G. How you guys doing? Let's do it this way. Don, I'm jumping on you first. Why? Why didn't they play this way 3 weeks ago?
Hey, Tony, what you talking about 3 weeks ago? How about just the week before when they had a chance to get in the playoffs? And for them, they had a lot of young players that played on Sunday against Dallas, and they came out and just played with a lot of fire. You didn't see that fire in the Browns game when everything was on the line, Tony. But you got a new quarterback behind the center in Sam Howard, who came out, and maybe Dallas didn't know anything about Howard and they couldn't prepare for him. But I'm not letting them have that excuse. but he just played solid ball. The defense, Tony, was solid on Sunday against Dallas. And why they didn't play that way, I don't know. They looked like they weren't prepared in the Cleveland Browns game. And like you said, they had two Giants games to just win one game. And then Cleveland, they had the schedule set up for this team to walk into the playoffs. And as is, they're cleaning out locker rooms.
Well, and you know they should be cleaning out locker room, and they should start with the field goal kicker. I'm calling it like I see it. And it's the third base of the World Series. You're out. And I'm talking about that. Trey, let me ask you this. You know, they talking about the offensive line is playing better, but truly on Sunday, they did a little bit better job, but we still need some changes up there.
Well, you know my philosophy, so it's all about them boys up front. We make it all go. And I think, at least on the defensive side of the ball, I think Washington has one of the best D-lines, I think, in the league. Offensively, I think they're a couple of years away, a couple of players away from being that dominant group they've been known for. But when that line is playing right, I think they got one of the best nucleuses in the team if they can sort that QB thing out.
Well, I tell you what, and one thing we've talked about, and I'm waiting for you. You're going to be the last one, Chill, here, because you got some explaining to do. But Shep, G-Man been telling us, and these receivers that they have now that Washington have, they are very, very good. And I tell you what, they'll be prominent in the future.
You froze up. I didn't get the question, but I heard receiver. You talk about
the receivers. They're very good now. G-Man been telling us how good they are. What do you think about these receivers? Will they be prominent or still here? Or will they move one of them or what?
Well, Chris Samuels, you know, he got a high salary cap. I think they owe him like $10 million, so they might have to redo his deal. I think T-Mac obviously is not going anywhere, and Dotson, the young boy, he's first rounder. He's secure. I don't know how they're going to do what they're going to do with Chris. Maybe they think he's, could be replaced, but I like him as a group. My issue is a coordinator, but I guess we get to that later.
No, you better go on and talk about that now, because that was on my tongue also, Leslie, the offensive coordinator. We'd have talked about the offensive line, which Trey said has to get better. We'd have talked about some other areas. We know the quarterback situation, but no one is addressing the coaching staff. And Scott Turner has been here 3 years, and he, to me, has not gotten better in those 3 years. So that's an area that they need to totally address, because even in the win against Dallas, it wasn't like he did anything special as far as his play calling. And Coach Rivera was asked about that after the game, and he said that they would address that this week. To me, they need to be pushing the panic button as far as whether they go from here, because they should have been in the playoffs, but when you look at across the coaching thing, they didn't get it done.
And you look at it, and I think the whole offense played a little better, and I was glad to see that. And maybe it was because of the quarterback, maybe because of the situation. But, as you look at this thing, one thing that really stood out in the game was without their leading rusher, Mr. Robinson, they still had a pretty good running game. And that's really hope for the Washington team in the future.
Yeah, I mean, they came out and they played a solid game for the first time in probably about 3 to 4 weeks, I mean, they played a solid football game. Offensive, defense, unfortunately, special team had a couple of mistakes, but they also make some big plays as well, So, I mean, the offensive line is the key. To me, that's the primary thing they need to make sure they take care of moving forward in the future. All the receivers are on point. At the end of the day, you just need a quarterback to get the ball somewhere around the receivers. At the end, I mean, don't get me wrong. It'd be great if you had like an all-star quarterback, but just having somebody to get the ball around. If I got the ball around Shep's going to catch the football. It's the same thing with this group. You get it around them, they tend to come down with the football. So the most important part is getting an offensive line. We could have had Brady this year. The way the line played at certain times, Brady would have got killed. Brady at his best would have got killed. That's what it was. I mean, at the end of the day, without your offensive line,
that's true.
Line, you don't win football games. It's just what it is.
But even talking about the offensive line, and Alex, let me come to you on this one. When they changed the quarterback, what you know on this show, you've been watching it and you didn't produce it this year. One thing we did say, was it time to change the quarterback? And if you were going to change it, stick with who you changed with. But at the same time, don't you not feel that they got the wrong quarterback in the end? Maybe they should have let the young guy go in earlier.
Tony, I'm with you. Listen, you said it first weeks ago that you felt like Heineke
was 50-50, but they won football games with him. The timing going back to Wentz seems so curious. Statistically, I know stats don't mean everything, but since I do produce this, I'm pretty keen on what the ratings are and making the graphics. Heineke, the San Fran game, played statistically, for what that's worth, one of his better games. Is he ever going to be perfect? No. Aaron Rodgers wasn't perfect Sunday night in a win or else game. It's a tough gig. Heineke, there was something about him that they rallied around. They won games with him, and the timing of the go back to Wentz thing was so odd, and it became very clear about 10 minutes into that football game a week ago that it was wrong. You know what? You made a mistake. You'd love to have it back, because if Heineke plays that game and not Wentz, maybe they win, maybe they don't. Then they go with the young fella to end it, which I guess is okay once you're eliminated. He looked pretty good. It's one game. If he looked insane, I don't think we would say he's the guy for the next 10 years. If he looked awful, I don't think we would say, well, he can't be the guy for the next 10 years. He was pretty good. And he'll be a quarterback, the coach says. QB1, maybe. QB2, maybe. QB3, They got to figure out quarterback. I hear you guys about the offensive line. You still got to have one. You still got to have one. Doesn't have to be Brady. Doesn't have to be Rodgers. Doesn't have to be Mahomes. You got to find a guy that you can build around that is productive and efficient and reliable and stick him out there and go with it. The quarterback thing, listen, Leslie Shepard, Trey, you guys, Gary to a degree, but not as much. You guys have lived this. It's been 25 years of this. This team can't find a quarterback and they can't find a place kicker. Other than that, they're reasonable. That's my take, Tony.
Hey, Tony, just hopping in here with what Alex said about the quarterback. Since 1993, this Washington Commanders, Redskins, a Washington football team have had 35 different quarterbacks. That's just telling you that they can't get that right for 35 years and moving forward. So if they don't get that right, it doesn't matter. And as Gary said, the offensive line has to be one because it's been about 10 years since his offensive line has been productive. They let Moses Morgan go. Flowers is out there all season long, and then they knew that they needed help on the offensive line. They still did not call from him. He was with them last year. And then you've got the big one up in the San Francisco that's doing Trent Williams. They let all these guys go, and you wonder why the offensive line is not good.
Well, you know, we know that, and we've answered a lot of the questions about the Washington team, but I purposely didn't talk to the young man at the bottom, Clarence Chill Hill. You know why? Because he's going to have to tell us. You know, we start this show in our first segment there, what's up? And now we say now. So next we want to know, what's up with your team, man? Well, you know what? We're going to save the horse. We're going to ride the cowboy when we come back, so you get ready. We'll be back in the moment.
All right.
I did grow up a Cowboys fan, so it was super cool to, come play the Cowboys my first start and beat them. You know, my dad's a big Cowboys fan, so it was a cool moment for us as a family because we grew up Cowboys fans. I know there's probably a lot of decisions to be made, but I'm just gonna go to work and just try to become the best player I can and come back here, better than I left. And so I don't know what the situation will be, but whatever it is, I'll be ready for it, and I'll come back ready.
As a leader, I just want to go into the offseason making sure I come back better than I did this year. And I think that's the message going to everybody who's going to be on this roster next year, to come back and be better than we were last year, and to get off to a faster start. I think this last few years we haven't got off to the best start, and I think getting off to a great start is key. To getting that momentum early in the season to get to where we want to get to. So, I'm excited for what the future holds, no matter what it looks like from coaching, ownership or whatever. But, it's just fun playing football.
We wanted to go out on a good note. I feel like we did that today. We wanted to just leave it all on the line, play for each other, because that's really all that matters. We know we didn't finish the season the way we wanted to in the playoffs, but we wanted to end with a victory, and that's what we did.
Could you talk a little bit about Sam Howard and his first start today?
Yeah, this is the first time you guys have seen it, but we knew he had it in him. We knew he was capable of doing what he did today. Played a great game, getting everyone the ball, putting it on the money. He played an awesome game. I'm just super happy for him that he got the opportunity and he came out on top.
And Charles, when you look back at this season, how would you assess it?
Assess it as we finished really well. We finished the season, finished it on a high note, not where we wanted to be, clearly, but we got some things to improve on, but we also have some things to build off.
I'm really proud of the way we responded. Really proud of the guys. We could have come out here and laid down, and we approached the week right. We practiced hard, played hard, and I think that tells a lot about the people in this room and how much we care about the game of football.
It's big, it's a big win. Coming out just shows, it's like in this room, and we understand that. We know that we're capable of winning big games, and unfortunately, it didn't mean anything to us, but it meant everything to us when you think about it, because we got a lot of guys that play with pride in here, and a lot of grown men that come to work every day.
Hey, Derek, it's good to see that smile on your face. Talk about this end of the season and finishing strong today.
Definitely, it was a huge game for us, man. Using this momentum to go into next year. We had some things not go our way in the last couple of weeks, man. We didn't give up. Came out there, we balled today, man. So it just shows that we are fighters.
That's all right to say all that, but don't come telling me about it was a big game. It wasn't no big game. And talking about getting up, you should have got up because you laid down the last 2 weeks. I don't want to even hear that. When you're trying to get into the playoffs, don't tell me, okay, you did well. You did well against a team that didn't show up. And speaking of that, Clarence, what happened to your Cowboys?
I'm going to challenge my inner Shannon Sharp. Let me finish my monologue. Let me finish my monologue first. And I want to know, when is the parade? I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a parade in D.C. like they won something. I mean, you heard of Fool's Gold, right? You heard of an apparition, right? You heard of a false positive, right? I mean, this don't change what happened during the season. Could it be the Cowboys team that had their worst game of the season?
Maybe they had their worst game because they made it their worst game.
I think, when you're starting the quarterback for the first time and you don't have your best running back, there was a lot of things going on there that I don't know if that was Washington's best team on the field. It was really more about the Cowboys not showing up and playing their worst game. But neither here nor there. It was a bad performance, a horrible performance. Dak Prescott used the SHIT word when he described his performance after the game. And, no one had any explanation of why they played so bad. I mean, this offense, since Dak Prescott had been there, had been number one on third downs, number one in scoring, number one in yards, and they couldn't do anything. The running game has been a problem for the last few weeks, and Washington actually was pretty good against the run against the Cowboys in the first game. But with all the injuries up front, it's a concern. The Cowboys they said they're going to flush it. They're going to use their 17-game model and say, this is not who we were for the first 17 games. We're going to try to turn the page. But it's a concern because this is a Cowboys team that has not won since 1995. There are questions about Dak Prescott and whether he can win the big when he puts up a lot of statistics, but he's let Cowboy fans down. His team has let Cowboy fans down consistently over the years. And now they're facing Tom Brady in the playoffs, who's never lost to the Cowboys. It was in Tampa, whether in New England or Tampa Bay. He's undefeated against the Cowboys. It's not a good Tampa Bay team. They're 8-9 for a reason, but they've owned the Cowboys.
Hey, Clarence, before Tony jump back in, is it a concern for Dak going into the playoffs? Because he's got the most interceptions in the league this year, and he's had a turnover problem. And when you look at the game against the Commanders, he had some bad throws, interceptions that he was throwing right into coverage. Is it a concern as far as his play? Because it hasn't been really solid this year also.
No, well, it should be a concern. Outside interception, though, he's been playing very efficiently. Again, the offense, since he's been back, has been among the tops in the league. His completion percentage before last night was he's getting ready to set a single season high for completion percentage. Last against Washington, he had a career low in completion percentage. He had the second worst quarterback rating in his career. He was downright awful. And then you add in interception, 7 straight games with the interception. He only played 12 games, and he tied for the NFL lead interception with 15. those are issues. You don't want to turn the ball over going into the playoffs. So yeah, those are concerns. The Cowboys went to that game knowing that, obviously they were thinking about too many other things, but they did want to play well and go into the playoffs with some momentum. They have no momentum. That's not what you want to put on tape going to the playoffs for yourself or for anybody else.
You're 100% right about that. And you take a look at the whole thing, and they go in there, and their psyche is going to be messed with no matter what. And what you have to look at for Washington, yeah, they talking a good game and all that they want, but they need to take a look at themselves, everybody else. And that's where we look at now. One thing I did notice, and I'm going to get back to the playoffs and everything, but I got to hit this. It looked like it's some hungry young players that's going to make this roster change next year.
Well, yeah, to start with the defensive line, you got guys who came in who you didn't expect to play well. They end up playing well. And quite honestly, if the defense would have played in the beginning of the year the way that they played at the end of the year, Washington would have been in the playoffs 100%. Again, we go back to how bad our quarterbacks are. I don't care who you are, especially if you're a quarterback. If you're getting hit in the mouth all the time, at some point in time, you are going to blink. You're just going to. You're not going to be as sharp as you typically are because you're expecting to get hit. And the concern, I'm going to say it for the rest of the season, for the rest of the shows that we have, is our offensive line needs to be better. They just do. They need to be better. Maybe they need to bring Trey in and have him be a part of mentoring those offensive linemen to play the way that he played his whole entire career, because it's important. And I'm a receiver and love catching a rock. And, I'll always say the receivers are the linemen are the most important part of any football team, because you can't throw me the rock if you're on your back.
Lastly, I got to jump in here. And you talked a little bit about Scott Turner. Why is it so important to change this up? And is Sam Howard your quarterback moving forward, or do you really need to address that in the draft?
First of all, Sam Howell, we haven't evaluated him enough to say he's our quarterback going forward. But again, like the leaders of the team, the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the head coach didn't even know that if they lost the Cleveland game, they would be out of the playoffs. So I think they just got inadequate leadership from top to bottom. I think that's an issue. I think quarterback situation, I think they could fix that problem if they call plays based on their personnel. San Fran, they playing with their third string quarterback. Several teams in the NFL that went to their next man. So I think Sam Howell can win. I think Heineke could win. If we get the right plays, we get the right formations, we get the ball out of his hand faster. I think you got to call plays based on your personnel. Now, do we have to get some depth in the offensive line and get that secured? Absolutely. But we need depth overall on both sides of the ball. So just getting a new quarterback in here, getting a guy that can throw the ball is not going to fix the problem. I think Ron Rivera and Scott Turner are connected at the hip because of what his dad did for him when he was playing. So I just think in order for us to move in the right direction, then we need to get the guys in here, the leaders, in the right direction, and we don't have that right now.
I want to jump in because I'm glad Shep brought that up, because there was so much talk about Turner and the defensive coordinator, and when somebody needs to talk about Ron Rivera, that this team has gone backwards. Why is he not getting the heat that he should be getting the way he's led the team? It's one thing to not know when to play. It's another thing how he handled the quarterback position. This is Ron Rivera. And with all due respect, I think that he got with reasonably so, he got a pass last season because of his cancer situation. But now, you got to look at the overall thing and say, is he the right guy to lead this football team?
That's a lot of nice guys.
And don't just start with him. You got to look at the front office as well and see, because they're making the decisions, and they're making decisions that they allow him to make his decision. So I asked Trey, if you had to make the decision, everyone has mentioned on this show that the offensive line has been a problem. Do you make a big trade, or do you go high in the draft after the offensive line? Now, you said the defensive line is loaded, and it really is. So do you trade one of those guys and get you a top offensive lineman and maybe another player? Do you go in the draft looking for a number one? What would you do, Trey?
All right, now, I'm not trading none of them D-linemen.
Thank you, Trey. Thank you.
I'm not getting rid of my trump cards. What I would do, though, and y'all would all be mad at me, especially my boy Shep, Gary Clark, is if it's me, I grew up a Giants fan. I definitely played against the Baltimore Ravens that year. They won the Super Bowl, running the ball with Trent Dilfer and that great defense. And we got to stop being so cute. See them dudes over there, they pretty. They doing all this want to do trendy stuff. And Norv was a clever dude. I've never seen a better coach on 3rd and long in North Turner in my life. But sometimes you got to smack people in the mouth a little bit, play good defense. Then you can kind of hide some of the deficiencies on your offensive line, grow a little bit, develop within the organization. Go get some of them big ass tight ends like Donnie Warren and Clint Diddy and all them dudes. Put them up on the front. Put 3 of them bad boys on there. 4 yards, a cloud of dust, play action pass. We try to do too much of this. It's a show now. It's not football anymore. You know what I mean? I'll be smacking everybody. Y'all be mad at me. Y'all will boo me out of town. They be like, we ain't throwing the ball in 2 weeks. And we ain't going to throw it this week. That boy number 8 from Alabama is the truth. He run hard as hell. You know what I'm saying? I give him the ball. And I don't care if you were a subpar offensive lineman pass blocking. Nothing we like better than do put our hand in dirt, come forward off the ball.
Exactly.
So that would be me right now. I understand the quarterback thing. I'm sure they put some of them dudes on film to cut them. Right? That's the rule too. Get rid of them. They'll go through another 10 quarterbacks, ever since God, I can't remember how many quarterbacks I played for. But I can remember watching the skills on TV as a high school kid win Super Bowls with quarterbacks that weren't great. Not that I love them all personally. They're great ball managers. But Sonny Jurgensen may be the last franchise quarterback, for real. You know what I'm saying? So you don't need that to win 3 Super Bowls. Get you some more big-ass tight ends. Get some more Gary Clarks in them. Play action to them dudes. Manage the game. Let the defense set the record on sacks. Win a Super Bowl.
And Tony,
you need to wash your mouth out with soap because you have the nerve to say, should we get rid of some defensive linemen? You need to just wash your mouth out right now.
Donna, you got quite a few of them. I was about to ask Gary that same question. We got a plethora of wide receivers that are going to be stars, and we have to get a quarterback. It don't matter. We got good players all around, and I know the offensive line need what they need, but you're going to have to give up something to get that quarterback that's out there. And Alex, I'm going to ask you something else, but Gary, do you think they'll do anything with one of those receivers? Because something has to be done to get good players in here. That's much to be done now.
I'm sticking to my story and I'm not changing it. You give me a strong line. The quarterback can be average, quite honestly, because the receiver group that they have, when you're 5 deep, when your 5th receiver can start on any other football team, that's a strong group of receivers. I mean, you see them making the trick catches. You see those guys, if they get their hands on the ball, they typically come down with it. They're that good of a receiving core. So just give me a line. Just give me 2 trays. Give me 3 trays. We're good. They don't have to get anybody different. My 3rd string quarterback's going to look like a charm. If I have that line at the end of the day, and unfortunately, Trey, you didn't get a chance to play at the posse because she would have been like, we ain't got to run the ball at all. It would have been that way. It would have been that way. It would have been like, we ain't got to run it at all. We can just let it go deep because we switched from the run game. Because when I first got to Washington, we was run exactly what you said. We was run first, we threw second. But as the thing changed, the posse came into play, we threw first and we ran second, but our back still got over 1,000 yards. Our back still got over 1,000 yards. They still averaged more than 4 yards a carry. And even a guy that wasn't a starter averaged more than 4 yards a carry. Because the line allows us to do more things that other teams don't allow anybody else to do. If you got a solid line, you're going to win football games. It's really just that simple.
And you know what, Alex, we got about 30 seconds left, and I want to ask you this question. Cam Newton was out there. He's still a good quarterback. Why everybody shaking their head? No.
Oh my gosh! I know you're not going there,
Tony.
Come on, Cam Newton ain't no good quarterback.
I don't know.
They
brought in Donovan McNabb. It sounded great. It was awful. They brought in Carson Wentz. It sounded great. It's been awful. Alex Smith, they brought in injuries. It didn't work. Maybe other teams can do that. They can bring in somebody else that was good elsewhere. This team is really good at bringing in people. They were great when they were somewhere else. Bring them here, and they stink. It reminds me of Jeremiah Trotter. He was great with the Eagles, different position, comes to Washington, can't play, goes back to Philly, and he's great again. They don't do well bringing people in here, Tom. They're going to draft somebody We're not bringing in Cam Newton, in my opinion. It's my opinion, Tom.
Carson Wentz was never great.
Right. We're going to.
It's okay.
Hey, Tony,
Half a
Tony, that's
season.
the second time you need to wash your mouth out with soap.
When we
Cam
come
Newton,
back,
come on, man.
when we
Cam
come
Newton got
back, we
Cam
put
Newton
this
got an
thing
AK
to
hat
bed,
on
so
right
we're going
now.
to start talking about playoffs. And Mr. Dallas, you're going to have to tell me, I know you're a little bit afraid of Tom Brady, and just like G said, they can win it all. When we come back, we'll talk playoffs. Now. Now, we've been talking about the Commanders and talking about Washington, what they did, what they need, what they not. But now we're talking about the teams that did perform, did get into the playoff. And right now I'm going to Clarence Chill Hill. Your guys barely even showed up. Did anybody wake them up on Sunday? Did they forget it was a game? Now they're going against the GOAT. And like G said, he can win it all. It don't matter how he got in. It's what he does when he gets in these kind of things. And you guys are in trouble.
Respect to G, respect to the GOAT himself. Tampa Bay ain't winning nothing, okay?
Say it again, Clarence.
8-9 for a reason. They've been bad all season. Yes, he owns the Cowboys, but Tampa Bay ain't winning nothing. And if there's any hope for the Cowboys, if they're playing Tampa Bay, this is the best matchup they could have. If you watch Tampa Bay all season, this team is flawed. This team is not the team that won a Super Bowl. So, yeah, the Cowboys look bad against Washington. But they were still 12-5. They were 12 wins. First time they've had back-to-back 12-win seasons since 1994, 1995, when they in the midst of 3 straight Super Bowl titles. So that's their hope. They played better than this all season, and they got a fortuitous matchup in the first round. I know it's Tampa Bay. I know it's Tom Brady. But if you watch that Tom Brady team, that Tampa Bay team all season, you have to say that if they don't win, it's really more about the Cowboys and them not getting it done, with no one trusted to get it done, more so than because it's Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. Because if Tampa Bay beats the Cowboys, they're going no further.
Hey, Clarence, I want to tell you that Tom Brady has beat the Cowboys 7-0.
I know the record. I know the record. But the boogeyman, he's no boogeyman. He's no longer the boogeyman.
Yeah, but down in Texas, they call 7 SEUM. 7 times he the beat.
Yeah,
so
5 wins New England.
That's in the back of their mind.
He's not the boogeyman. Watch him play. Just watch the game. Not
well,
10 years
Tampa
ago.
Bay comes into this game, even though they've been playing a little better as far as offense, but they come in unhealthy. They've got a lot of major people out also. So it's going to be interesting. I know that they beat Dallas at the beginning of the season, but we know that throw everything out as far as the season goes. But my thing is Tom Brady's at times looks old and everything. But like you said, Clarence, I think I agree with you. It's the team, what team will the Cowboys bring or show up against Tom Brady? That's the key thing right there. They're their own worst enemies, the Cowboys is. And like I said, Dak has thrown so many interceptions, but their defense, Tampa Bay's defense, has struggled also. So that game is going to be a toss-up, but I got to give it to Gary. I told Gary that they wouldn't even make it to the playoffs as far as Tampa Bay. And he said, as long as they got Brady, they'll make it to the playoffs.
Look at that division.
You see, he wiped that sweat off. He knew he was on the line with that one.
Look at that division. No winning teams.
But you know what? I want to ask from you receivers. It seems as though this year, and as well as in the playoffs, receivers are the dominant players in a lot of these games. And if you look at both Tampa Bay as well as Dallas, their receivers, they've had injuries and different people, but they seem to be filling it in. But seem all around the league, receivers are going to be real important in this playoff. Unless, who do you think the most dangerous receiver in the playoffs is right now?
Ooh, man, that's a tough one. I like Jefferson from Minnesota. I like CeeDee Lamb from Dallas. I like the kid from Prince George's County, Diggs from Buffalo. So it's going to be hard to determine who's going to be the best. I think it all depends on the weather, the matchups, and how well their quarterback play. But there's some good receivers that's in the league, and it's in the playoffs this year.
Hey, Tony, Leslie just brought up the Vikings. The Vikings are playing the Giants this week. You look at Minnesota that has won a lot of games late in the season. They struggle defensively, and Kirk Cousins always seems to find a way to bring them back. But when you look at the Giants too, Daniel Jones, they rested him, I think, for the last game of the season. That game is in Minnesota. Who do you like between these two teams? Because when you look at them, they're pretty even, and whoever can run the ball probably will be the team that walk away with that win.
We had Kirk Cousins too, by the way. But anyway.
Yeah, you see, that's another thing. And yes, Minnesota had right, and Minnesota's won a lot of games late, so that means they've been lucky as well because they could have lost those games. That's a toss-up to me. The only reason I give Minnesota advantage is because of home team advantage. I look at the way they play. Sometimes they look like they're unbeatable when I'm speaking of the Vikings, but then another time you look at them, they look like they can't stand up straight. They get behind, and they always seem to make the plays in the end. But you know what? You can only have that rabbit foot in your pocket so long, it's going to fall off once or twice.
Are you that confident in the Giants, though?
Yeah, I like the Giants. I can tell you what.
Why?
The Giants is a hard-made team that they are somewhat similar to our team that we've had in the past. And what they did, they went out and got players. They got their running game back in Barkley. They got a last young quarterback in Jones. But one thing they do have is a confident, good coach.
They do have a good coach. I agree with that. Yep.
A young coach, first-year coach gets the
coach.
Don't everybody clamp up on me.
No,
come on in. We're talking about it now. We're gonna put it down. We're talking playoffs. Ain't no time like Trey said. It's time to quit being pretty. It's time to be nasty.
Yeah.
I agree with you, man.
I think that a lot of what's going to happen in the playoffs, obviously, the first thing is going to be health. Who is the healthiest team who can keep their stars on the field? 18 weeks is a long time, man, to play everybody be able to execute and contribute the way they did in week 3 and 4. And I think you see a lot of teams limping into the playoffs. But I think, this is where you get, I think somebody said something about good coaching. I think this is where the chess match comes out. I think this is where, everybody can take all that film from them 18 weeks, put together these game plans, and, you don't have to play everybody. You got to win, 4 games, something like that, to get to the show? And I think whoever can navigate through that the best is going to be the team. And I personally, I like Andy Reid. I like what they did in Buffalo. I like a couple of guys who are hungry, especially with all the talent. Some, like Shep was saying, you look around these rosters, man, some of the talent on these teams is impressive in terms of athleticism and productivity. But I think it's all going to come down to, we got to put it back on the coaches. You know what I mean? Who has the ability to game plan and adjust in real time? I think that's going to be the team that wins the ball.
Hey, Trey, it may be the San Francisco 49ers because Kyle Shanahan has really constructed that team well all season. They had 10 straight wins. They started 3-4. And so they bring in McCaffrey, in October, and just make that team stronger. Tony has been talking about all season long that at the end of the day, the 49ers will be right in. And they play Seattle this week, who barely got into it. That game is going to be, to me, just dominated by the 49ers. But, Tony, what do you like so much about the 49ers? Because they seem to be the team right now that is the hottest team in the NFL right now going into the playoffs.
I like their balance. And I also like their coach. I never did like him a lot when he was here, but at the same time, they know how to utilize running backs. Then they go get McCaffrey, who is one of the best all-around backs in the league. And since he's been there, I think he's had something like in 9 games, he's had 10 touchdowns. You can't get better production than that. He's thrown touchdowns. Then you look at that offensive line. They got the best offensive right tackle in the game. Got him from the Washington team. You look at the quarterback. You got a young guy that comes in there and he doesn't throw 2 interceptions and two touchdowns a game. He goes in and helps them win. That's what they needed right there. You got a good running game. I know they've had their injuries there, but that component is right there. So if you take a look at it, their wide receivers may be the weakest part of the team, and they're not weak. So if you take a look at that San Francisco team, the only thing that will make them lose is if they get hurt. And they always had a propensity to get hurt. So when you look at that, you say that's the one thing that can hold them back. And when we come back, we'll talk about some other teams that you got to look at the San Diego Chargers. They've been hurt a lot this year, but they are a dangerous team. You got to look at the Kansas City, seem to be coming back. They don't seem to miss Hill as much as they should, but they got some good wide receivers. Once again, wide receiver. So when we come back, we got to hit all these teams in the playoffs because every team in there could win. And one thing about it, Washington's not, so they can't win. In a minute, we'll be back.
Hey guys, I'm back again for another workout. This time we're gonna take down and do a chaos that I created yesterday for my guys. We're gonna do a lot of cardio, emphasize cardio big time because all those pies everybody be eating, all those cookies everybody be eating, turkey, ham, all that's going to waste now. I'm about to burn it off.
Like this?
Nope. You go back, so you go to the side. Go to the side, so down like this. Here, and down. Squeeze those flaps. Make sure you pause every time. Hold, and down. Hold, and down. So that's too light for you.
No, it's not.
You sure?
No, it's good.
Okay, all right. Hold, there you go. Go down slow, too. Up, go down slow. There we go. Decline press, here we go.
Another great piece from Ricky Irvins, and probably if Ricky would have worked out the Commanders as hard as he worked me out this year, maybe they wouldn't be talking about packing up their locker rooms right now, Tony.
Well, the thing about it is, every time you have a game like that and you have players that the last thing they want to do, and all you players know that, is get hurt at the end of the season. So, maybe they had it worked out a little harder earlier because a lot of people have come to the fact to say they felt like this team wasn't in its best shape. And when you come to that, that goes right back to the coaches. How you other guys feel about that? They ain't going to cut your phone off. Don't get silent on me.
So hold on. Back that up. You said that the team was not in shape. Is that what we talking about?
That's what a lot of people are saying.
Well, I can relate to that. I can't. I ain't going to say nothing. Y'all go ahead on that one. Hey. I don't get in shape till about Halloween when they take my weight limit off. So
I don't personally. I don't think the issue is endurance. I think it's the leadership, man. Like we not giving Ron Rivera, man. We giving him a pass, in my opinion. Right? He doubled down on him not knowing that we was going to the playoffs. I mean, like anybody that know anything about football know that you have to have your team ready for each and every Sunday. And that game was an important game for him to come back. And then he came back Monday and then doubled down and said, yeah, I didn't know. I was focused on winning. Well, obviously, if he knew the game was on the line, he wouldn't have put Carson Wentz in the game, in my opinion. Obviously, that was about money. But the whole organization as a whole, it's on thin ice, in my opinion, man, from the top to the bottom. And you can't be a good football team if you got inadequate leadership. That's just facts. And I think it starts with him. It starts with him because he's the so-called general manager. He came out and said that he was the reason why Carson Wentz was here. He did the evaluation. He looked at the film. He gave him all that money. So a lot of that stuff has to fall on Ron Rivera. And I mean, he's a nice guy. I mean, we besides all that, but as far as him being a good leader, leading his team where we need to go, I just don't think he's the guy to do it. And I think it starts with that, period. Because, your team takes on the personality of your coach. He don't give any straight answers. He jumps around all his decisions. He wasn't going to start the young kid this week until he got all of the backlash from the radio and the media and all the fans. And then he decided he was going to put him in. So he got to have a backbone. We need somebody coming here that can lead this team. In my opinion.
And and we might well even quit talking about them. We can talk about them next year because that's when they'll play again.
Okay.
Tell me that they got a lot of things they got to do. It really don't just stop with the coach. It starts with everything. So let's talk about the playoffs. A lot of interesting teams in there. Each of them. Donna, start with you. Who are your favorites?
Nobody is saying anything about the Cincinnati Bengals right now,
Donna?
Tony, because they, to me, are the quiet sleeper again. Like last year, they snuck them on everybody. And I know I love KC too, because if you got a Patrick Mahomes on your team, this guy's going to, I know you said that they don't have all the moving pieces as they had in previous years, but they've got enough still to make a run. But I think the Cincinnati Bengals is the squeaker that's going to surprise everybody again. And they could upset Kansas City and also Buffalo if they have to face those two teams.
Tony, I'll jump in because I think we lost you briefly. I will jump in and say I think it's unusual that none of us have mentioned the team that was the number one team the whole darn year. That's the Philadelphia Eagles. And for some reason, nobody's talking about them. And I don't even know that that's wrong because I could see them kind of flaming out, that maybe they peaked too early. But they are the one seed in the NFC. It's got to go through Philly. But somehow nobody's really talking about that. We talk about Tampa. I don't know about Dallas, Clarence. Sorry, but I don't know. Somehow the Eagles in the NFC are kind of being overlooked, I think, even though they're the one seed. And my opinion is if Lamar Jackson comes back and if they can get a win with him at Cincy, which is tough, watch out for them. They run the ball. They do what Trey Johnson says everybody should do. They run the ball down the other team's throats with J.K. Dobbins, with Gus Edwards, with Lamar if he can play. They do that thing, and they play D. And Roquan Smith is sick. So if they get him back, him being Lamar, watch out for the Ravens to kind of come out of nowhere.
Alex, please, please, please. Are you kidding me about the Ravens?
What's wrong, Don?
Ain't no way.
Let me tell Donna what's up.
Lamar Jackson is not going to be 100% anyway if he comes back. And that offense struggles. And even the defense is struggling right now. I don't even think they've got a chance there. But Clarence, back to you as far as the NFC East. The Philadelphia Eagles had some hiccups down the stretch. How do you see them finishing up right now? Is that the team in the NFC East to beat right now?
Well, they're the team in the NFC. They have the best record, have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. I think San Francisco is the scariest team with that defense and the way they run the ball with McCaffrey and if they get Deebo Samuel back, I think that that team is the team to beat. But Philly's been the best team. They got Jalen Hurts back. The wild card is what's he going to do in the playoffs? What's that offense going to do in the playoffs? Can he continue what he's done? And on the other side of it, I'm with you on Cincinnati. I just think that Kansas City got home field advantage. I think Kansas City should be the favorite out of the AFC. But San Francisco and Philly are the two teams I'm looking forward to battle for the championship game and the chance to go to the Super Bowl out the NFC.
You know what? We put Tony on mute because he didn't know what he was talking about. So we're going to take a break right now. Bring Tony back to let him finish this off after this quick break.
One more thing.
Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus Speakers Bureau offers you various opportunities to connect with former and current players along with Tony and the crew. For more information, go to redmagplus.com Speakers Bureau.
One more thing.
Well, the picks are up there, just like we're headed into the playoffs. I mean, it's a heated battle as far as the picks. Gary Clark is not even in the mix, but Alex, myself, and Tony are a game apart. So every game.
No, but Donna, I'm in the lead.
I by one game, Alex. But
I'm trying to act like we're all just in the neighborhood. I'm up top. You and Tony are below, and then Gary Clark Gary looked like the Cowboys did Sunday. That's what Gary looks like.
That's all right. You look like Philadelphia. Nobody's gonna be talking about you in the end.
Hey, because we got to go through the whole playoffs. But like I said, we are neck to neck. So every game counts.
All right, I want to find out everybody's game. We got a few minutes here. I want to find out. I'm going to go right away. And one thing we haven't mentioned much of this show, and I think I go with Buffalo. They may not be the best team. They may not be the team that anybody wants to win. But, you know, they're the team that young man, he's come back and helped pull America together better than it was. And I look at them, and that was for a reason. And I look at this team as good, and I think that'll be the emphasis to get them to be and go where they want to go. So Buffalo is my team that I look at is going to win, and San Francisco on the other end.
I say the 49ers, Tony, and I still got to say Cincinnati because I think that they're going to surprise everybody this year.
Who you got, Trey?
I mean, from a whole different perspective, I got to go agree with Alex. I'm going for Philly. Just because Jalen Hurts should be the MVP of the league, and if he doesn't get it, it's a great. His numbers and his performances. If it had been anybody else, in my opinion, we would have already gave him the MVP. The team is complete. They have a lot of great players. It just stumbled a little late, but I'm pulling for them, and I think they can pull it out.
Sure.
I'm going with 49ers. I think they built for the playoffs with the running game, and Kittle's. A lot of people, y'all haven't talked about him. He's a dangerous weapon. Tight ends and running game that play action, and they have the #1 defense in the league. And then on the AFC side, I think it's going to come down to Kansas City or Buffalo. I'm going to give Buffalo the edge because I think they play defense. They solid. I just like their coach. I like how they play for him.
All right, Gary. Come on, man.
Brady.
Brady
in Kansas City, baby. Brady in Kansas City. That's what everybody wants to see anyhow at the end of the day.
No, we don't.
Ain't nobody say Dallas.
Because it ain't going to be Dallas.
Kansas City and the 49ers. I got Kansas City 49ers in the Super Bowl. I got Kansas City winning.
And I got to change. Clarence told me one thing I got to change up. I think I said San Diego Chargers. They the LA Chargers. Keep your eye on them. But one thing about it, keep your eye on these people that's on this show because they got a lot of great opinions. And if you guys take a look at it, when we come back in a week or so, some of us will be like a empty wagon because we're around the louder. And some of us will be laughing. So fans, you got to come back and see what's happening. But one thing we know is going to be an exciting playoff. And we want you to come back and look at it with us. And we never say goodbye. We say in the minute.
Cause of what I've been through, I tell the world it's gonna be alright because let the rest of it take care of it. The best that I can. Oh, the rest of it take care of itself. I'm gonna live my life. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. And let the rest of it take care of itself.